Welcome to SQL with Python. In this video, I'll be talking about automating reports with Python and SQL. Of course, we know that one of the businesses of coding, programming, and all that is to get to a point where tasks that are routinous can actually be automated. So the overview for this is this. Automating reports with Python. Of course, we are talking about SQL, right? And we've been focusing a lot on SQL. Like there are other SQL databases you can use apart from SQLite, like PostgreSQL and MySQL and all of that. So, but I've been focusing a lot on SQLite because it is really light, as the name implies, and it's very easy to use in Jupyter Notebook. So automating reports with Python and SQLite involves building scripts or workflows that automatically connect to a SQLite database, run SQL queries, process the results, and generate structured reports. So you may want reports in Excel, in CSV, in PDF, or even in visual dashboards. This automation removes manual bottlenecks in business analytics, enabling faster, more accurate, and scalable reporting processes. SQLite is ideal for lightweight reporting systems such as small to medium data sets, embedded applications, offline data analysis, prototypes, and proof of concept systems, right? So most of the times, right, this is good for maybe trying out things to see if it will work or not before you go to really implement on a large scale. So the typical workflow for automating reports, the typical workflow for automating reports involve the first step, which is data storage with SQLite, or if you like SQLite. SQLite uses a single .db or .SQLite file to store tables and data, right? As we've seen a lot, like you can just quickly create a database and create tables in it and populate the tables with information and then do your task on them. You can even connect that with Pandas. You can turn them to the Pandas data frame and then export them out, like save them in form of CSV or something like that. So data can be imported from CSV files, JSON, or generated from applications. So the example structure is what you have here. So you have a project. From the project, you have reports. And to get the reports, you need some data from the analytics from a database, which we can call analytics.db in this case. And that is your SQLite or SQLite database file. Then from there, you have scripts that generate reports.py. So then you can also query data with SQL, right? You can query data with SQL. You can use raw SQL to perform filtering and aggregation. We've done that in the past. You can do joins across tables. We've done that a lot. You can use window functions like in SQLite 3.25 plus. Then you can have custom date filters. And a very good example query for all we have described, is this select customer name, then you count the rows. I mean, that's what count bracket star means as orders, some amount as total spent from orders, where date between dates will now be now minus 30 days and date now, group by customer name, order by total spent descending, and then limit to 10. You want just 10 rows in this case. Then you can automate with Python, right? So first step is data storage with SQLite. You can query data with SQL. You can automate with Python. All right. So you see SQLite, SQL queries, and then automating with Python. So Python integrates with SQLite using the built-in SQLite module. I think this should better be written this way. I have this and this in Markdown, so I can have it coming out this way. Okay. Python integrates with SQLite using the built-in SQLite 3 module. Once connected, Python can execute SQL queries, process results with pandas, format and generate reports, schedule and automate the full process. You can even create dashboard like we've said before. So some Python tools used in this case will include SQLite 3, where the purpose is to connect and query SQLite databases. You can use pandas also for data processing and transformation. Then you can use OpenPython Pixel or XLSX writer, which is Excel export options for Pandas. You can use Matplotlib or Seaborn for charting and visualization. You can use the schedule or APCS schedule or cron for task scheduling. You can use SMT plib or Yagmail for sending reports via email. Okay, so we are not able to do email in this case because how well, I mean, sometimes can be problematic, right? So you also use the login library in Python, right, for track automation logs. I mean, to track automation logs and errors. So these are some library Python libraries used, okay, for automation, automating reports. Okay, let's see here Python, a full Python example where we generate a weekly sales report. All right. So as usual, we have to import SQLite 3. That is, it is inbuilt into Python, so we don't need to download. We just import it. Then we import OS, which is also be inbuilt in Python. We have to also import datetime. Datetime is actually also inbuilt in Python. So from datetime, we import a function called datetime and time delta. And then in line 5, ensure the data directory exists. So we create, we want to ensure the data directory exists. We do what we have in line 6, where we have the operating system dot make directory, and then we say data and we make sure exist okay is true, right? And then of course, as usual, we connect with the database by saying con, which is just a variable name. We can make it whatever, and that is equal to SQLite3 dot connect. Connect is a function inside SQLite now that connects us with this data or analytics dot database. Now, if this database already exists, you just connect. If it doesn't already exist, it will create it. So let's see the folder we're using here. If that is already connected, so SQLite, SQL with Python, right? Okay, I mean that thing is not connected. Is not that analytics thing is not available here. All right, so we can just go ahead and create it. So we come back here. So when I run this now, automatically this data slash analytics database will be created. So we have the data. And then we have the analytics, right? Then we also need to create a cursor to connect, I mean, to perform our tasks in the database. Normally in the normal SQL environment, all we just need to do is just go ahead and execute your queries. But since we are using SQLite and we are doing that with Python, we need to create cursors with which we do things inside a database. And so that helps us. So the SQL queries are now embedded using the cursor to execute tasks inside the database. All right. So we create table and insert data. So first of all, here we are creating this table. So cursor execute now. So from with this cursor you have created here, you now use execute to create a table if it doesn't exist. So create table if not exist. So that's we are creating the sales table inside the data slash analytics database, right? And then the sales table will have ID, which is an integer, and primary key. A primary key is unique to each item. So no two items have the same ID, and then it's auto increment, meaning that it will start from one and it will increment by one automatic and on like that. Then we have date, which is text and not null, product text not null, amount real not null. Real means it can have decimal places, and of course when you talk about money, usually we talk about money up to two decimal places. And then having created this table, we now want to we want to impute some information. Like in the sales now, we want to talk about the products. We have widget, gadget, and doohickey, right? And we are creating a base date, which is datetime.now. So we are using right now as our base date, right? So this will help us to impute this into the table, into the sales table. And then we are creating sample data, right? So we say for I in range 15, sale data will be base date minus time delta. So that's whatever date you have divided by 10. So it's like after every 10 days, you want to go back, right? Something like that. And then you do the timing in year, month, and day. And then you talk about the product. So you say product I, this is division, right? I think this is integer division, I think. So the result is whatever is left is what we'll be having here. So length of product, right? So the amount, we have 10 plus I times whatever I is times 2.5, then that divided by 30, to two decimal places. So we're rounding to two decimal places because we are talking about money here. Then sample data dot append. So you're now appending the sample data. So you have sale underscore date, product, and amount. So and now so of course, by doing this, we'd have created a table, right? But I'm doing everything together. So here we are talking about the kind of data we want to put. So since we are going to put many data, so we now have cursor.execute many, right? And we say insert into sales. So that sales table now we have date, product, amount. We don't care about the ID because the ID is auto created and it's auto increment. So we just focus on the date, product, and amount. All right. So date, product, and amount and value. So we have these question marks as placeholders to avoid SQL injection, SQL injection. That's what we have been doing. So placeholders are very important. And then now we can now bring in the sample data we have created from here. All right. So we have the sample data here. So in 24 here, it's more like we are initializing. We are opening it's more like you're opening a store. And then from 25 to 29, you are populating the store with all the necessary products, like whether they are widgets, gadgets, or doohickey. All right. So so once I run this, then line 31 automatically imputes all the data I have here, and then con.commit actually saves it in the database, and con.close closes access to the database. And in line 35, we now have to print. So it now tells us sales table created and 15 sample records inserted. So if I run this now, okay, so it just tells me, okay, sales table created and 15 sample records have been inserted. All right. So having done that, we can do some optional enhancements. Okay, we can do some optional enhancements, or maybe one thing we may want to do is we may want to query that table now, count as orders. Okay, yeah, I mean we've done that something like that in the previously. So let's just focus on the automation thing. So you can have optional enhancements by adding visualizations. All right, so you want to see, so you query the database and then you query the table and all that, and then you can now you want to extract some kind of information from this, and then try to represent it in visuals, right? So of course, again here, we do have to do this again, but we're just doing it, just to be clear. So import SQLite 3, import pandas, because now we need to create visualizations and most of the visualization tools like Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly, and all that, they can be found inside of pandas. Yeah, Matplotlib, yeah, they can be found. No, no, no. They can stand on their own, but you need to use pandas to create data frame that can now be visualized by those tools. Yeah. So you now import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, then import OS, that's operating system. Then to connect to the SQL database, we've done this a lot. Don't forget we've closed the database in line 33 here. So if you want to use it again, you have to create the connection once more. So here, so you have con is SQLite dot connect, and you have data slash analytics, blah blah. And then here you now create query. So query total sales by date and product, right? So to query now, so this is a SQL query. The ones in red are mostly the SQL query. So you want to select date as sale day. Uh there's a date column in the table we created, right? So you want to select date and you want to give it a heading, a column name called sale day. Then you also want to select product. Don't forget we have a product thing here. So a product column, and then there's amount, right? So then you now want to find sum of amount as total sales, right? So you pick a particular day and you list the product and the total sales, across for that day, right? So, and that you're selecting that from the sales table, then you're grouping by the date and the product, and then you're ordering it by the date, right? That's what this query is doing. Now, like we've seen beautifully, that you can combine SQL with pandas, SQLite with pandas specifically in this situation. So this query now, you can use it in you can use it with together with pandas to create a pandas data frame. So this query now, so you can load the query result into data frame. You just say data frame is now equal to pdf dot read underscore sql underscore query. So just like read underscore csv, read underscore excel, read underscore JSON. So we have read underscore SQL underscore query here. So the query, so you just put it here. You've given the query a name already, and then you connect to the database also. So from here, you can create that data frame. In fact, okay, I guess I want to split this up. Let me split this up for a bit more interesting view. So I do this now. So I want to visualize that table, that data frame, right? So, and then create more cells. So where I can now have this and move step by step. So here I have so see what we have now. Everything I've been explaining. Then I want to see the data frame. So now I have run it. So it's taking a bit of time. Yeah, so you see the data frame. This is what it looks like. So we have 15 points. So we have all the dates. So you know the date is starting from right now, right? So we have 14. So this is today is 23. So it is taking some days back, right? So we have widget, the total sales for that day is 32.5, doohickey is 30, and so on and so forth. So we see all that. Okay, so we can also create this cell. So we can now at this point you have visualized that. So we can close connection with the database like that. And then from here now we can create reports directory if it doesn't exist already. So if we create this report directory now, so we can now pivot the df. So that'll be df pivots index. We're pivoting based on the sale day, and then the columns will be the products and the value will be total sales. And then we can plot that as stacked bar charts, right? So this is us visualizing what we had brought out in that other place, right? So we come here now, and then we make directory, make create reports directory if it doesn't exist. So we say os make directories reports exist. Okay, true. So pivot the data frame to get products as columns and date as rows. So we say pivot underscore df equals df data frame, the data frame we created dot pivot, and all this. Then we visualize in a bar chart. We've done this kind of things under um, data analysis with Python. So I run this now, and then you see we have um so we have all those things. So you see on the 14th of May we had widgets sales more than $30, and then we have on the 15th we have doohickey, we have on the 16th we had gadgets, and then there are times where we had both. For instance, on the 19th of May we had I think it looks like more of gadgets than doohickey, but we have both together. On the 20th of May, we had a bit more of widgets than gadgets. And then on 21st May, we have more of doohickey than widgets. And then the 22nd, we have the bigger share of sales that day were doohickey and then some gadgets. And then on the 23rd, mostly gadgets and then some widgets, right? Like that. Okay, so and then you have the sale day here and you have the sales amount right here. Okay, talking about the weekly sales report. So now another thing you can do, we are talking about after creating all the stuff, right? All the weekly sales reports. The next thing we are talking about enhancement like visualizations, like we've seen now. We can also schedule the report daily or weekly if you choose. So, for instance, in order to do that, you need a Python library called schedule, all right? And in that case, since it is not inbuilt into Python, you have to install it, right? So, and that's why you have this pip install schedule. So I press Control Enter, and it takes a bit of time, and it tells me some information. So it says requirement already satisfied, scheduled in C, blah blah blah. Where that is, note you may need to restart the kernel to use updated packages. Now, this is happening because I had installed it before. So in your case, if you're just installing it for the first time, it will take a bit more time, and then the report is going to be longer than this since you just be installing that. Okay, so now that that is installed, we now import schedule, and we import time, we import date time. So time and date time are both inbuilt into Python, all right. And then we use a Python, we use a Python function. We say define job, and then you now print date time, the time right now, and you generate the report. Okay, then to schedule, right? So you say schedule the real job for Monday at 9 a.m. So let's say every Monday morning when you get to work, the first thing you want to see is the report of what has happened over the last week. So in that case, now you just have schedule. So you have a function called every inside the schedule. So you have schedule dot every Monday at 9 a.m. and then do this job. So you want to tell me this report now. So at 9 a.m. every Monday, do this job, right? So that's one thing. So for testing purposes, you can run every 10 seconds. Comment this out in production. Okay, now you can actually run this every 10 seconds, right? And then you can So like here we say schedule every Monday at 9, blah blah. So so here you now print schedule started waiting for Monday 9 o'clock or test interval. So if you put the test interval, then that can actually do that can it will happen according to what you want, like we are going to see very soon. Okay, so while true say print the so now this additional lines from 16 to 19 now is for you to see that it is actually running, right? So if I run this now, see what's going to happen. It tells me scheduler started, scheduler started, and it's waiting for Monday 9 a.m. or test interval. Now, so normally it's waiting for 9 a.m., but because I want it to run to tell me what is happening every 5 seconds. That's why I've done this. So this is only useful for the purpose of this, because if I leave this alone now, it means it's going to be doing this every 5 seconds till today is Friday at least from this place. So it is going to be to keep doing all this 5 second check until Monday. And by the time you come on Monday, the whole place will be really full. So sometimes you may want to, I can stop this now. I just say, so I can just do this, interrupt the kernel. All right, I can interrupt the kernel. So now the kernel has been interrupted. So if you want it to take more time, instead of saying 5 seconds, you can say maybe you want it to share tell you what is happening after every 60 seconds. That's every 1 minute, or maybe even that is even too small. Maybe you can do some kind of 24-hour thing. So that's like 1,440 seconds. I'm not sure. So if you do this now, so this thing will be here till the next 1,440 seconds. So it won't do anything further, right? So it will just keep telling after every 1,440 seconds, every 24 hours. I hope that what 24 hours is actually in seconds. I'm not too sure, but something like that. So it will just keep giving us that report, right? So it will keep like that. So by the time you get to work on Monday, then you can see 9 a.m. on Monday to give you what has happened in the course of the week. Okay. So 11.6, you can use cases for SQLite plus Python reporting. So, okay, let's talk about the use cases rather for SQLite and Python reporting. So you see the domain in sales and retail, you can have daily and weekly sales summaries, just like what I showed up there. In finance, you can talk about expense and revenue tracking. In education, you can talk about student performance reports. In healthcare, you can look at patient admissions, billing summaries. In logistics, you can have delivery and inventory statistics. In HR and admin, you can do attendance and leave reports, right? Those are some use cases. 11.7, let's talk about benefits of automating with SQLite and Python. Of course, the simplicity is important. No server is required. All you just need is the database is just a file, So, but if you work on bigger data sets, right, you need a server. But in this case, you can just your local machine can just be where you create a database as a file and then you work on that. Then portability, it's easily shared and version controlled. Then speed, it's ideal for small to medium data sets. And it is cost effective because it's 100% free and open source. Python is free, SQLite is free, and it's open source, so you don't have to worry. But of course, if you have to deal with more secured information, like as a banking institution or financial institution, you may have to invest in some more sophisticated and secured platforms. Then it is integrated. Python can combine data analysis. So here now you see we are combining data analysis, visualization, reporting in a single script. So you are doing SQL, you are using, you are querying, you are turning the query into a data frame in Pandas, and then you are now visualizing that in say Seaborn, Matplotlib, and all of that. It can even lead to like creating a dashboard using things like Plotly and Streamlit, right? All right. So best practices. Um, best practices, right? You want to use parameterized queries to prevent SQL injection. Like all those question marks that we have when we make queries, those are parameterized queries, and that helps us to prevent SQL injection. Then you want to implement logging and error handling to catch failures, like the 1 second thing I did the other time, right? To keep giving us reports like that. Then you can implement logging and error handling to catch failures. Use Git for version control of scripts and schema. Then you can archive past reports in a timestamped folder. And you can use Jupyter notebooks for ad hoc analysis and validation, like what we've been doing. So the reason why I like using Jupyter notebook a lot is because I teach a lot and I need to see how my code is performing or what or my query or Python code how it is doing at every point in time. That's why Jupyter notebook is really important. In more serious environments, you may have to use things like VS Code or something like that. All right. In summary, you see that automating reports with Python and SQLite is a powerful, lightweight solution for generic, structured, repeatable, and timely reports from your data. So with minimal setup, you can connect to databases, execute complex SQL logic, analyze the data using Pandas, and export to rich visuals or tabular formats, all without manual involvement. So just set the system in place and then just keep coming back as a manager to check what you have done. So let's see, since we're talking about creating reports, right? In this case, of course, we expect that we can always point, so you can see we have our data here. Our data is from the analytics database. You remember analytics.db, and our reports, the only thing we have created so far is this bar chart, so we have it in our folder there, so in case you need to refer to it, so that's there like that, right? Of course, if you want more things beyond just a chart like this, you can always get that, right? So that's what this has been like. Thanks for listening. Let me know how helpful this video is for you. Interestingly, I suspect that this is going to be the last video in this playlist about SQL with Python. After now, we'll be you should watch out for the next playlist, which would be on data science. Data science. Of course, I don't have to say data science with Python because I mean we all know that Python is the most popular language of data science these days. When we get into talk about machine learning, things like that, regression, all of those things, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and all of these things. So naturally, so you can just expect it to be called data science with EJD, right? Because we already know that Python is the language of data science. I mean, of course, it's not like you can only use other tools for data science, but Python is that big deal as far as data science is concerned. So let me know how helpful this is for you, and if there's something you'd like me to try out, feel free to let me know. And of course, if you have subscribed already, you've been having a nice time on this channel. A whole lot to learn, from mathematics to scientific computing to data analysis, and now we've talked about database management, talking about SQL with Python, and after now we go to the big one, data science, where we begin to do some machine learning stuff. So you want to watch out for that for sure. So if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and be sure to hit the notification bell so you can always get alerted each time a new video is released. Of course, there's something extra now because my channel now, you can now be a member of this channel if you want some extra privileges like maybe having access to the math PDF notes I use. As I teach maths, right, I have some PDF notes. So if you think the videos are not enough, you want to see the notes, you want to be a member of the channel, then of course there's a level of membership where you can actually have we can hang out. Maybe you want to ask some questions, you want me to whatever, so you can check the channel. This is what you do. Okay, I guess let me use another account to make it easy to access. Okay, let's say we have these um so let's say we have this let's say I use this um okay, let me use this now, and then I go to YouTube, right? So clicking on that, it's taking a bit of time. Okay. Okay. Taking time. Yeah, this. Okay. Yes, this now. So if you go to my channel, if you go to my channel, yeah, so you come here, right? And then you can see join. So if you click on join, you'll see all the packages available. So right now I have EJD bronze access, and I have the silver access, I have the gold access, right? And I mean, for this bronze access, you can have priority reply to your comments. You have a loyalty badge displayed showing how long you've been a member of the channel. Yeah, we can also connect on social media. I mean, that this package offers you that. The next package gives you even all of that plus early access to new videos, member shout out, photos and status updates, members only videos. So at this level of membership, there's some you can have some videos just for your own use, like it will only be available to silver access members. Then you can also have access to my PDF mathematics notes on request, if you're a silver access member. And then for the gold access, you got an extra layer where we can have one-on-one consultations based on schedules like that. So you don't want to miss out on any of these things. But of course, I mean, if you're not a member of the channel, not a problem. We With your subscription, by being a subscriber of the channel, you can still have access to all the videos, right? I mean, to the regular videos for sure. So be sure to do that. And don't forget to like and share also so that more people can have access to the great things going on this channel. Until I come your way again, keep doing data right. So watch out for the data science with EJD playlist. It promises to be exciting. Bye.